So you want to get into Penn State University Park. I want to help you do it. My name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions expert. You can learn more about working with me one-on-one at my website, collegemeister.com. Penn State, in the great state of Pennsylvania, is one of the most popular public institutions in the United States. And there's always a great deal of demand to get into Penn State. So I'm excited to talk to you today about Penn State. I will just give you a big heads up at the start. We're not going to talk about the Schreyer Honors College application in particular on this particular video. We'll do a whole separate one for that because that is quite a doozy. And I want to focus today instead on simply getting into Penn State and do a whole nother video separately about getting into the Schreyer Honors program. Tip number one for getting into Penn State University Park, and that's really important to note because there are other campuses for Penn State, and there are many ways to get into Penn State ultimately at University Park, but if you want to get into University Park from day one and stay on University Park's main campus for all 4 years of your undergraduate experience, this video is certainly for you. But tip number one is to read the article linked below this video entitled How to Get into the Ivy League Ethically. Now, of course, Penn State is not an Ivy League institution. The Schreyer Honors program very much is a selective program that acceptance rate-wise is actually close to the acceptance rates at Ivy League institutions. But again, that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. But I still want you as a student trying to get into University Park to read that entire article of how to get into the Ivy League ethically, because if you do, you will put yourself in a really great position by the first day of 12th grade year to close the deal with Penn State as a high school senior. You see, Penn State, if you do the things that you're aiming to do to get into any selective institution, is going to accept you most likely. And that article really lays out beautifully the steps you need to take, not just as an applicant in 12th grade, but as a high school student throughout your entire high school career that you need to take basically to clinch it, to really get into Penn State and be sure that you will be spending the next 4 years of your life on the campus at University Park. Why skim in by the skin of your teeth when you can really be a slam dunk applicant for admission? That article is going to help you do the latter. Tip number two, Penn State is a school that really doesn't mess around as it relates to the application. I mean, they have a lot of questions, but ultimately they don't want to read too much. This is still a large institution that's relatively numbers driven, i.e. your transcript. If you submit your test scores. So they're not going to want to read books about you. And therefore, unlike a lot of my videos where I say try your very best to share more details about your extracurricular commitment, you can and you should obviously use the additional information section of the Common App's writing page to share more details about any extracurricular commitments that did not fit into the activities page on the Common App. But guess what? In most cases, Penn State is not going to really care too much about reading anything beyond what they must read in order to determine whether or not to accept you. They don't give you the opportunity to upload an extracurricular resume on the supplement to the Common Application for Penn State. And therefore, they're really not so interested in learning about the true you, the depth of who you are, like a lot of colleges, both small and large. But I would still say that you might benefit from taking my How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume short course and doing so with an eye toward obviously creating a brief 650 word or fewer resume that you can plug into the additional information section of the Common App's writing page. Again, if you feel as though one or more of your extracurricular commitments deserve more attention than that you can provide them on the Common App's writing page. But I don't want to be duplicitous in any way and tell you that it's going to be highly important, because it's not. It's Penn State. It's a school that is still going to be more interested in the questions it's asking on its supplement to the Common Application than any additional information you share in the additional information section of the Common App's writing page. Remember, Penn State is a school that's not even going to look at your Common App essay. So to assume that they're going to really care too much about what you put into the additional information section of the same page, the writing page of the Common App, would be a little bit far-fetched for me, right? So I've got to be keeping it real with you and tell you that I would devote the majority of my energies with Penn State and closing the deal with Penn State towards making sure that what I put on the Penn State supplement to the Common App is just perfect, because that's where your action is. That's where you're going to close the deal with Penn State if you've got the numbers, or even if you're on the edge of having the numbers. That's where you can really come back from behind and potentially slide into first base head first and get into Penn State. So let's talk about the supplement to the Common Application for Penn State. In particular, again, this video is for first-year applicants, those students who are basically in high school. So I definitely don't want to, again, confuse you. If you're a transfer applicant, that's process different, expectations are different, yada, yada, yada. What I will say is, if you are serious about getting into Penn State University Park, you should do your very darndest to apply by November 1st, which is the early action deadline. It becomes more competitive to get into Penn State rolling admission after the November 1st deadline, because they filled up a lot of their spaces with early action applicants by the time they get around to answering and replying to rolling decision applicants, which are only reviewed after early action. So you can apply August 15th, you can apply September 15th. Both are fine. Both will be considered for early action as long as you get in by November 1st. I still like to get in earlier to Penn State, because I have had students hear from Penn State as early as November, especially those people who get their applications in, in a very timely manner in the late summer, very early fall. But what I would say is, in addition to applying early action and getting your act together very early in your senior year, or maybe even days before your senior year starts, I strongly recommend that if you're in it to win it to get into Penn State University Park, not one of the satellite campuses, you should seriously consider applying for the summer term. Now, summer term is going to allow you to take a couple credits on campus, start at a time when it's quieter on campus. It's going to be less social, obviously, because there are fewer people around, but maybe you'll develop deeper and tighter relationships with the people you start with. You can continue, and you should continue into the fall once you start in the summer, but a lot of kids want to have their summer after senior year to themselves with their friends from high school. They don't want to start college until the fall, and I understand that. I respect that. But if ultimately you want to have the best shot of getting into Penn State, I would certainly put not only early action as your admissions plan, but also indicate on the Penn State supplement to the Common Application that your preferred start term is summer 2024 if you're applying for 2024, as opposed to fall 2024. This is applicable into the future as long as statistics don't change and policies don't change. So if this video stays up for the coming years, the summer term is going to be less competitive than the fall term. And of course, fewer people are starting in the summer, but the benefits are that it's easier to get in. And I would argue that you can start in a less harried manner. There'll be fewer people on campus, fewer new students. You can sort of get your sea legs, and then once fall comes, you can experience all the new kids who are starting at the same time in the fall. It's sort of like you have two orientations. You sort of have two start dates in the sense that you've done this before, but you already are comfortable in your dorm. You're already comfortable living on campus, and if you got a better shot of getting in, I think that's a win-win. So I would put summer 2024, especially if you don't know if you're a really great applicant for admission and you feel like you could have a hard time getting in. Certainly summer 2024 is a very wise decision for you. If you have a 1550 on the SAT and you want to spend the last summer before college with your friends, I respect the fact, just do fall, apply for fall. But otherwise, I would say if you have any doubt about your ability to get into Penn State, especially if you have any doubt about that, certainly summer 2024 is the wise strategic choice as opposed to fall 2024, and that could be played out for every calendar year. Applying for the summer over the fall makes sense if you feel like you're in any way on the bubble for getting in to Penn State University Park. Beyond that, there are some programs that are more selective at Penn State. I would definitely do your due diligence into the right programs for you based off of your goals and your interest, your career goals, your academic goals. So I wouldn't be uber strategic about which program you put down. If you're truly undecided, then put undecided. Rather put undecided than put a program that could, in fact, give you a harder time of getting in, and therefore you end up having a hard time getting in, or putting a program that you're going to have a harder time transferring out of and just having the red tape of transferring once you're there. I would simply put in undecided if you're undecided and go that way. and just be honest and authentic otherwise. They're going to ask you also not only where you want to start, but also where you want to finish. Again, your goal is to get into University Park. That's the main campus. If you would be interested in maybe spending less money or staying closer to home and start in a different campus, by all means you can do that. That's going to be far easier to start and get into Penn State. A lot of kids start at different campuses and then end up transferring to University Park. But again, I'm assuming that you're watching my head bobble up and down on the screen right now because you're in it to win it. You want to start at Penn State University Park, and therefore my obvious recommendation in that situation would be that you should put down your starting campus to be University Park main campus, as well as your graduating campus to be University Park main campus, so that you can run wire to wire on the main campus at Penn State. Now, you are going to be required to put down an alternate starting campus because Penn State University Park is selective. You're going to have to do that on the common application. Doesn't mean you have to go if you get into that campus and only that campus. It just means they do want to know another campus you would consider. And I would do some research into the campuses just in case you would ever consider starting on another campus in order to ultimately graduate from and attend Penn State University Park. Many students from out of state in particular just don't go for that. They would rather not start on an alternate campus. But some are better than others, and I would definitely take the time and due diligence necessary to research the other campuses so as to be sure that you're making the wisest selection for your personal goals and needs when you select the alternate starting campus. Also, make sure you indicate that you want housing if you do in fact want housing, because that is something that it would be a pain in the butt to have to find after saying you don't want housing. So definitely make sure that you indicate you want housing if you ultimately want housing for your 4 years right at the start, right on that common application. In terms of the actual writing on the supplement to the common application for Penn State in particular, Penn State has an optional personal statement. Please tell us something about yourself, your experiences, or your activities that you believe would reflect positively on your ability to succeed at Penn State. This is your opportunity to tell us something about yourself that is not already reflected in your application or academic records. If you've already put together a really strong common application essay, 9 times out of 10, I would say just use that common app essay and shrink it down to 500 words if it's above 500 words, and use that there. Because the common app essay, even though Penn State subscribes to the common application, the common app essay is not read by Penn State. So as a result, I would just shrink it down to 500 words and throw it in the personal statement section of the Penn State supplement to the common application. The 1 time out of 10 where I would say don't do that is if you have a very compelling Penn State specific story and you want to tell that story and show that story, you can of course do so there to really make a more personalized connection between you and Penn State. Or if you're really only applying to really 1 or 2 schools and maybe the other school is not on the common application, in which case I would again create a bespoke Penn State specific essay so that you can make a compelling sort of why Penn State case for yourself. But otherwise, I would do the common app essay just to make it shorter. And for tips on how to write an awesome common application essay, I have whole other videos on that. You can and you should definitely click the links below this video about the common app essay that I've again included links to below this video. Both videos as well as one article I've written in the past about how to approach the common app essay so that you can knock it out of the park. And again, the same tips would apply in this case. It's just a matter of getting it down to 500 words, which is the word max for the supplement on Penn State, compared to the 650 word maximum on the Common App's main essay when it actually is read by colleges. But again, in the case of Penn State, they are not going to read that essay, so you're going to recycle it and shrink it a little bit in most cases for Penn State. As I mentioned, the Schreyer Honors College is a selective program, and its essays are quite the doozy. I'm going to do a whole nother video about Schreyer Honors College so that those of you who are elite students and want to get into the Schreyer Honors College at Penn State will in fact give yourself the very best shot of getting in. But that will be a whole nother video for a whole nother day. So definitely go back to my channel, youtube.com/collegemeister, in order to learn more about that video once it's posted, and read it, watch it, do whatever you want to it. Share it with your friends and family for anyone who's aiming for admission to that most selective honors college, which again is at Penn State and is in demand. Beyond that, I would say good luck. Goodbye. My name is Craig Meister. I wish you the very best of luck getting into Penn State. At the end of the day, it's a really fun place. It's a beautiful campus. It is quite isolated. Pennsylvania, many people don't know who aren't from around there, but Pennsylvania is a very rural state, with the exception of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Everything in between, by and large, is quite suburban and or rural. So as a result, the experience of going to Penn State is going to be quite unlike anything you have at Pitt or Carnegie Mellon or Temple or Penn or Drexel. You get it. You get the point. It's going to be a whole different experience and quite different than maybe what you envision in terms of Pennsylvania if you associate Pennsylvania with Philadelphia, which is a big city, and also Pittsburgh, which is not as big of a city, but it's still a very urban area as well. Until next time, my name is Craig Meister. I wish you the very best getting into Penn State. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, subscribe to my channel, like this video if you enjoyed it. I think having gotten through it now, you are going to have given yourself the very best shot of getting into Penn State. And again, keep an eye out for my specific video on how to get into the Penn State Schreyer Honors College, which will be coming soon. Until next time, Craig Meister signing off.